to Startup Secrets, a podcast where over the next few weeks, Michael Fuller and I will talk to various startups to get inside the minds of founders and reveal why these people are a very special breed. Today, we are joined in Startup Secrets by Jacob Claflin of Cambrist, one of Ireland's newest and very successful startups, specializing in the area of payments and cross-border commerce. Welcome, Jacob, to Startup Secrets.
Thank you, Barry. Mike, it's great to be here.
Thank you. So, Jacob, let's kick off. Tell me a bit about Jacob, personally, professionally, and I suppose at the end of the day, who is Jacob Claflin?
So, I am the co-founder, CEO of Cambrist. I'm American by birth. I'm Irish by choice. Before founding Cambrist, I worked in a variety of European markets, all in the payment sector, always with processors on issuing cards, acquiring payments, etc. So I'm a bit of a payments geek.
Well done. So Jacob, thanks for joining us again. What is it exactly that Cambrist does and your particular role in leading Cambrist?
So Cambrist is a data processor. And we specialize in the cross-border FX side of Visa and MasterCard payments. And my role as CEO is basically to do everything else that I don't have team members to do. But functionally, it's sales, marketing, fundraising. That's a lot of where my time is spent.
Excellent. And the whole concept of it, because obviously the payments is something that is very complex. But where did the idea come from? Was there one specific idea, or did you just collaborate with several other organizations to get Cambrist up and running?
So the core focus of our business is to help banks and other processors give better transparency to the costs and FX rates in Visa and MasterCard payments. And the origin of that came from my personal frustration. So I traveled a lot for business. I was frustrated by the fact that when I was using my credit card or my debit card in a variety of countries, that I didn't have good access to information about how much it was going to cost me. And that frustration led me to find my two co-founders and really to identify the fact that, my bank at the time was AIB, wasn't alone in having limitations in terms of their technology and their capabilities when it came to FX. And so we founded Cambrist to build a platform that would enable banks to plug in and improve their capabilities, really driving what we would say that the Revolut Effect, if you're familiar with Revolut, in the card payment ecosystem.
Excellent.
And Jacob, I know you a few years now, and I'm always amazed at how passionate and driven you are. And I suppose I'm really keen to understand how startups, you just keep going and going and going, no matter what challenge comes in your way. And you that drive. Where does that drive come from, and what keeps you so passionate each and every day?
Barry, it's an interesting question. When I founded Cambrist, when I stopped having a job, if you will, and started the business, I was very driven and passionate about growing the company really for myself. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to grow this business in the likeness of what I thought it should be. But, it's interesting is that's changed over time. We've been running Cambrist for 4 years. And now my passion is as much about building the business for my family, for my employees, for my investors, particularly for those people that supported us on the early days when it was the bigger struggle. I want to make sure that this is as successful and as worthwhile as a company, because I want those people to benefit from it.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting that you become more invested in it, as from an initial wanting to get investment, but you become invested in the startup itself, if you know what I mean. And that leads me on to the next question, which I think is key. Post-COVID, what do you see as the kind of the workforce of the future coming for the new startups? What is it going to evolve into, and how will digital play a role in that, do you think?
It's a good question. So Cambrist as a startup, I think we were always a little bit outside the norm of a typical kind of office environment. We didn't have the luxury of paying the most money to get team members. So we had to be quite open to where people were and how they wanted to work. And for me, that's what the workforce of the future is about, really being able to work from anywhere, for anyone, on the terms that are more accommodating to the individual. And as a business, again, we're still a small growing team, but we already have team members in over 6 countries. And that's not going to change because it gives us greater flexibility, gives us more access to talent. And that's a really important part of both our competitive advantage and our growing proposition. And that's interesting for me also because it blends into what we are as a digital provider of services. Digital to me, along that same theme, is about enabling access to clear, transparent data or information that's usable anywhere, anytime. And that digital footprint is what we're growing in enabling banks to offer Cambrist services.
Jacob, if I might just intervene there, is your revenue streams is it transactional or is it based on service fees, or how do you make your money?
So we have a blended revenue model. We have a SaaS-based service that's really just fixed revenue fees for access to some of our data processing capabilities.
Right.
And then we have a broader FX processing commission-based revenue stream. So they're 2 complementary models for the business today.
Okay, so it's vital to have that 24/7 services up and running the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean, again, we don't manually do anything. And our business is a 24/7 business where our systems, our technologies are borderless. So our teams and the way we think needs to be borderless.
And you're in 6 countries at the moment. The international challenges of varying regulations and technologies, how challenging is that? Do you mind me asking?
The 6 countries is where we have people physically present, Mike. Our business, our customers already today, I think, are in 12 to 13 markets. And those 2 areas don't necessarily overlap, which is, again, because our technologies in the cloud, our team are dispersed. It's all about just connecting our knowledge and the technology to the customers wherever they sit. Regulations are key to what we do. We have to address them. But frankly, we haven't found a path where that's been a restriction for us.
That's great. That's great. A lot of hard work, obviously.
Certainly. Thank you.
So if you were able to write yourself a letter, Jacob, going back in time to when you started out, what would you write to yourself?
Oh, well, I thought about that question, Mike. And as I looked down at my ever increasing waist size, I think exercising regularly and more often might have been on the top of that list. But from the startup ecosystem perspective, and what I'd like the audience to think about is it's not a joke when you're told that the startups take longer than you think, and that the journey itself is going to be quite bumpy and circuitous. It's a twisty path. Every founder I've worked with over the years has similar experiences, even if we're in different businesses. And so I tell myself to make sure I enjoy the ride, make sure I enjoy the work itself, make sure that those things that aren't going to go right don't ruin it for me. Because if I didn't enjoy the experience in and of itself, I probably wouldn't have been as persistent and able to keep going as we have.
Excellent. So yeah, I suppose, have you any advice for somebody kicking off in the future?
Well, it's interesting. So I'm a foreigner to Ireland, but we chose to base the business here. And one of the things I realized, one of the things I'd sort of pass on to my young son, who I had a son recently, is sort of the value of networks. And I say that from the point of view that I think I learned probably later than I should have, that every person I meet is a potential, partner or friend or mentor or customer. and that I really need to reach out and make more connections, build that network more proactively, because it's just so important. And again, that's something I think I unfortunately learned a little bit later than I probably should have.
Right, right. Thank you for that. Just one thing that's been intriguing me, the name Cambrist. How did you arrive at that?
So this is an interesting story. We wanted a name that meant something to do with the company, but that was a little bit unusual. And so, frankly, my co-founder and I, we started looking through the dictionary and the thesaurus. And Cambrist means somebody that knows, that's knowledgeable about foreign exchange.
Very good.
It's as simple as that.
Excellent, excellent. What page is that on, Jacob?
It took us a while to find it, but it's deep down in there.
That's excellent. So, yeah, absolutely delighted to have met you, Jacob. Thank you sincerely for your time, for Barry and I coming on Startup Secrets. And we very much wish you well for the future, you and the team. We hope to talk to you again soon, perhaps. And thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you both very much. It's been a pleasure, and good luck with the show. I think you've got a great thing going.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.